A Siberian tiger is a 600-pound wall of muscle capable of dragging a water buffalo through thick mud by itself. But if you search the entire planet for a wild dog that size, you will find absolutely nothing. The largest wild dog alive today, the gray wolf, is barely a quarter of that weight.
Even if we look at domestic giants like the English Mastiff, which can hit 343 pounds, they are still nowhere near the weight of a tiger or a fully grown lion. This should feel strange because cats and dogs seem like two sides of the same coin. They have the same basic toolkit of teeth, claws, and hunting instincts. They even share a common ancestor. So why did nature build a heavyweight boxer out of one family and leave the other stuck in the middleweight division forever?
For a long time, scientists thought the answer was just a matter of timing, that a giant dog simply hadn't evolved yet. But when researchers actually ran the numbers, they didn't find a gap in history. They found a wall, a hard physical limit that dogs have hit again and again for 40 million years, no matter how much time they were given to break through it. The split happened about 42 million years ago. One branch became the cat-like feliforms, which includes tigers, lions, and even mongooses. The other became the dog-like caniforms, including wolves, foxes, bears, and even walruses. As they went their separate ways, they each committed to a specific way of getting dinner, and that choice dictated exactly how big their bodies were allowed to grow. The mystery starts with a tiny piece of biology: the claws. A tiger's claws are retractable. They stay sheathed and razor sharp until the exact moment of the kill. A wolf's claws are out all the time, blunted by the ground, and built more like running cleats than knives. This one difference changes everything about how each animal is allowed to hunt. Because a cat has built-in grappling hooks, it can rely on a single devastating ambush. It pounces, hooks on, and clamps the throat shut in seconds.
A dog physically cannot do that. Its blunt claws aren't sharp enough to hold a struggling animal 3 times its size. To survive, dogs had to solve the same problem a different way: the marathon. Wolves and wild dogs run their prey into total exhaustion, sometimes for miles and hours, until the target simply can't move anymore.
Here is the part that stops most people. Size is a massive advantage in an ambush, but it is a total liability in a marathon. Every extra pound of muscle a wolf carries costs it in stamina. A heavier body overheats faster, burns through energy quicker, and tires out sooner. Think about the difference between an elite marathon runner and a world-class powerlifter. One is lean and efficient. The other is built for raw, explosive force. Evolution ran that same experiment on predators, and it landed on a brutal conclusion. Bulk doesn't win an endurance hunt, it loses it. Take the wolf pack as our first real-world example. A single 100-pound wolf can't take down a massive bull elk, but a pack of 8 can. By hunting in a coordinated group, the pack itself becomes the giant. This cooperation does the job that bulk does for a tiger, but without any individual needing to carry the physical risk or the massive caloric cost of being 500 pounds.
Then there's the social exception: the lion. Lions are the only cats that regularly hunt in groups, and they are also one of the few cats that didn't need extreme stealth to succeed. Because the pride acts like a pack, lions can afford to be massive while still being efficient. But for a solitary dog, getting bigger just meant having a larger mouth to feed, without the tools to catch the extra food.
We often think the big dog never existed, but that's not true. One actually did. About 9 million years ago, in North America, there was a monster called Epicyon haydeni. This wasn't just a large wolf. It was the size of a grizzly bear, weighing up to 370 pounds. It was a bone-crushing dog with a massive head and powerful jaws that looked more like a lion's skull than a dog's.
For millions of years, Epicyon was the most dominant land predator in North America. It looked like the big dog had finally arrived to stay. And then it vanished completely. It wasn't outfought by a bigger rival. It was outcompeted for food by cats. As true feline ambush predators spread across the continent, they were simply more efficient at turning a kill into calories.
Epicyon had scaled up its body without ever solving the claw problem. It had grown into a body built for a sprinting and tackling style that its own biology, those blunt claws and dog-shaped shoulders, wasn't actually built to support. The cats simply ate better for less effort. And over enough generations, that tiny difference was the end of the giant dog.
This reveals a mind-blowing truth about the animals we see today. If you look at a spotted hyena, it looks and acts exactly like a rangy, muscular, pack-hunting dog. But genetically, hyenas aren't dogs at all. They are actually feliforms, meaning they are more closely related to cats and mongooses than they ever were to wolves. The most successful big dog in the world today is actually on the cat side of the family tree.
So, where did the dog side of the family go? They did eventually go big. They just didn't stay dogs. The suborder Caniformia includes bears, and bears are actually the true big dogs of evolution. They share the same basic ancestry and non-retractable claws as wolves. But to support that massive 600-pound size, bears had to give up the marathon hunt and become omnivores. They traded the endless chase for a diet of berries, fish, and plants because that was the only way to fuel a heavyweight body. Every giant dog breed you see today, from Great Danes like Zeus to massive mastiffs, exists only because of us. They aren't the product of millions of years of survival. They are a genetic shortcut we created through breeding in just a few thousand years. If you dropped a Great Dane back into the wild, its body wouldn't have the adaptations to run for hours like a wolf or kill in seconds like a tiger. The question was never really why don't big dogs exist. It's that nature realized a dog's true power isn't in its size, but in its efficiency and its friends. The wolf survived by figuring out exactly what it was built for and never stopping. Sometimes the animal that survives isn't the one that got the biggest. It's the one that realized it's better to be a lean marathon runner than a giant that can't hold on. Which evolutionary strategy do you think is more impressive? The raw, solitary power of a big cat, or the social intelligence and stamina of a wolf pack? Let us know in the comments.